reduce costs. And his trusted Vice President, Kamala Harris, is the right person to carry forward that fight. And this week is about celebrating what it means to be for the people. Vice President Harris has chosen in Tim Walz a running mate who has a coach, a congressman, a sergeant, a veteran, a governor, has a record of fighting for the middle class. And I'm excited that we're kicking off our campaign by celebrating just how much Joe Biden got done at home and abroad. Standing up to Putin's aggression in Ukraine, not just strengthening but expanding NATO, rebuilding incredible creative partnerships throughout the Indo-Pacific and with the Global South to make us safer and stronger. He's got a longer record of accomplishment than we could possibly celebrate tonight, but I'm grateful to play some small part in doing that. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Donald Trump, as president, talked about rebuilding our infrastructure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually got it done. Joe Biden talked about restoring manufacturing and got it done, where Donald Trump just talked. Reducing prescription drug prices and strengthening and defending our nation's access to affordable health care. Donald Trump said he would get it done. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris did it. It's an incredible record given how tight the margins were. On our best days, we had 50 folks in our caucus willing to vote for Joe Biden's agenda in the Senate. I think it was a 5-seat margin in the House. And as someone who led the Office of Public Engagement, former chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, and the best congressional pitcher in our history, I'm going to hand it over to Congressman Cedric Richmond to further expound on how we've got a lot to celebrate tonight, and we've laid a great foundation for not just a successful convention, but for a campaign that is going to move Kamala Harris and Tim Walz forward as our next president, vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'm actually trying to stay on script, but like the Senator said, there's so much we could talk about. There's so many accomplishments we could talk about in the Biden-Harris administration. But today, I want to focus on why we're here, and that's for this convention. And that is to highlight the contrast between the Harris-Walz agenda and the Donald Trump agenda. One agenda is about the people, one agenda is about one person. And so tonight, you will also hear from the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden, who accomplished more in 4 years than most presidents do in a full term. Like he has through his entire 50-plus year service to this country as a public servant, every step of the way during his presidency, President Biden put the people first, and Vice President Harris. It was never about politics. It was never about profit. It was never about party. It was always about the people. How do we wake up every day and make the people's lives better? And I think that that is the common thread that ran throughout the White House, ran throughout the Senate, ran throughout the House. And that's the key. And so if there's any stark difference we take away today, it is that everything we do is for the people. And you will hear that common thread consistently through the night. You'll also hear the president tonight talk about the successes of the Biden-Harris administration. And I think it's important for him to answer those age-old questions of, what have you done for me lately? Why bother to actually go out and vote? And so he has to remind people of the successes that the Biden-Harris agenda had. The fact that so many people came out in historic numbers the last election and put them in the office. But what did they get for it? And that's what you'll hear tonight. And he'll go down the list. And I think you will see a very proud president that throughout his entire career has always made sure that he was thinking about the people. And we're excited about that. The last thing I'll say about the president and what he'll say tonight and what he will show tonight is one of my favorite quotes about politics. Politicians worry about the next election. Statesmen worry about the next generation. And it was a statesman who came off the sideline 4 years ago to beat the worst president in the history of the United States, a person who posed the biggest threat to the United States, and as a statesman who passed and who will pass the baton on to Vice President Kamala Harris to continue to put this country first. And so here in Chicago, we're united. We're ready to answer the divisive, backwards vision of Donald Trump with a positive, joyful vision for the future. Now, Vice President Harris and Tim Walz stands ready to carry the torch forward as we look toward the future and fight against those who would divide us and drag us into the past. This is about tomorrow. This is about making sure that tomorrow is better than yesterday, and that all the tomorrows to come are better than the yesterdays that we've had. And so, if you look at where we were 4 years ago, and the senator touched on it, 54% of schools closed, businesses shuttered, people dying. You couldn't even go to funerals. You couldn't celebrate the lives of your loved ones. You couldn't visit them in the hospital to say goodbye. That's what the country was 4 years ago, before we had a president that came and a vice president that came and very intentional about righting those wrongs. But under President Biden, let's go back to Trump. I'm going to spend just another second on what we inherited. Crime and unemployment were up. Trump cut taxes for billionaires and corporations and made those in the middle class and those aspiring to be in the middle class pay for it. We saw an insurrection at the Capitol, led and encouraged by that same unhinged former president. And I want you all to remember, Senator and I, we were in the building. It wasn't peaceful protesters. It was an insurrection. And if you have any doubts of how it started, go to the debate when President Trump said to the Proud Boys, stand by, stand back and stand by. Then he summoned them to D.C. on January 6th, then spoke that morning and said, we're going to go to the Capitol and you need to stop the steal, which cost us the lives of law enforcement agents and made us the mockery of the world that we no longer had peaceful transition of power. And now he wants us to hand him back the reins of this nation as he runs on a Project 2025 agenda to ban abortion nationwide, jack up costs on the middle class by thousands of dollars, and fire civil servants and replace them with Trump loyalists. But the American people know better. They elected President Biden and sent Donald Trump packing in 2020, and they will reject him again in 2024. And they will send Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House. The American people want a leader who will bring us forward, not back, who will lead us into the future instead of trafficking in the politics of division. America is ready for President Harris and Vice President Walz. Joe Biden showed this country what real leadership looks like. It's about getting things done for the American people, results, progress, doing the right thing simply because it's the right thing. And now Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have united our party around their vision to lead us into the future, into a bright future. I know Vice President Harris. I know when Joe Biden was choosing her to be his running mate. I've been by her side as she fought for the American people from the White House. I've had the honor of seeing her work up close. And what I've seen from her isn't just a candidate who's prepared to lead, but a candidate who's prepared to win. With Kamala Harris leading the ticket and Governor Walz as her running mate, they will do just that. They will win this election, but more importantly, they will bring this country together and bring us towards better days. With that, I will turn it over and we'll have a little Q&A.
We do have a surprise, so we're going to welcome our convention chair, Mignon Moore.
The one and only Mignon Moore.
Good morning, everybody. And I will say I apologize for the delay. I think we all are going in different directions. Thank you, Senator Kuhn, for being here. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Cedric. I was listening to Cedric behind the stage, and I said I was going to start off by saying I want to say everything that Cedric said, because he said it all. And I tell you, I can't think of a better partner to have had in this journey than Cedric. So thank you so much for all you're doing. Alex, of course, I'm sure everybody has heard from him this morning, but he has been the executive director, and we have pioneered this journey in many ways. I mean, we started out, as you know, with President Biden, who we all love, we all adore. We look forward to seeing him tonight. We are going to celebrate him, celebrate all the accomplishments that he has given us. So we thank you for being here to even just report on that. I am here to just welcome you to the convention, welcome you to all that we're going to be doing this week. It's going to be exciting. It is going to be, some of the kinks are still being worked out, so we hope that you will give us grace and patience, but we know that this is a good time for America. And as Cedric has already said, the contrast between the Democrats and the Republicans will be very stark, and you will hear from some incredible speakers this week. They will tell you their stories, but they're also going to tell you the story of the Harris-Walz new ticket. And they're going to be dynamic. They're going to talk about the future, but they're also going to build on what the Biden-Harris administration has already accomplished. I look forward to the week. I mean, I even look forward to hearing all the spectacular speakers. Tonight you'll hear from Secretary Clinton. As you know, she was a pioneer for Senator Harris, now Vice President Harris, now the nominee. And so she's broke a lot of glass, and we stand on her shoulders, and she will bring us her vision of what it means to run as a nominee, and she will certainly embrace the vision of the Biden-Harris administration. So with that, I will stop. Quentin, welcome. We send all our friends. They have arrived, and we're happy to see you all. With that, I know you all can take questions.
Yeah, me. All right, we have time for a few questions. This is the press team over to this side, so when we don't get to every question, you can bug us. We'll go to Chicago's own Lynn Sweet first.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Any of you, perhaps Mignon, could you please just let me do this quick. I would like you, if you could, expand on, preview a little more of what Hillary Rodham Clinton will say at this historic moment where we may be electing the first female president. That hasn't been discussed much, but this was something that was so much a part of the Clinton campaign. Perhaps Senator Kuhn, and I know we had a lot, just tell us on how Biden is reflecting on his mood at this point in history, what led to him. Don't mean to rehash anything, but there's a lot going on. If you could sum it up. And then, is it really right that he's speaking at 10 o'clock? And if so, isn't that a little bit past prime time? Thank you.
Well, as you know, in 2016, Secretary Clinton won the popular vote. She ran an incredible race, and she shattered a lot of glass for many people. And I would even go back further than even Secretary Clinton. I would start with Fannie Lou Hamer, who was denied a seat at a Democratic convention. So you propel that forward, and you look at a Hillary Rodham Clinton. She has paved the way. And I want to also level set. She has been an incredible partner to Vice President Harris. They have a great friendship. You know, they're on speed dial with each other. And I suspect, I have not read her speech, so I should say that for the record, but I do know that she probably will talk a lot about what it means at this moment to have the second female and a female of color running. But what our responsibility is to that, too, as well, because it's not easy. And I say this all the time, we're trying to change and shift the mindset of people to see a woman as commander-in-chief. And Hillary Clinton has served as Secretary of State. She has served as our first nominee. So she has a world view of this. And I believe that, I don't know why I want to keep calling her Senator Harris, because she is so many things. But Vice President Harris also has a world view of what that means. And I think you will see that coming together this week.
I'll just say briefly, the last few times I've had a chance to be with him, to speak with him, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are optimistic. They're focused on the future. on things that matter greatly to the American people that they're determined to get done in the remaining 5 months. The Cancer Moonshot, there was just a wonderful event at Tulane that Cedric was at with them. I had a chance to be with the president in Austin as he was talking about the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, and he made some bold proposals about court reform. There's work to do abroad and at home. He's not just the leader of the free world, he's actually leading the free world. There's a war in Ukraine and a determination on his part and many of us to make sure that Ukraine gets the resources to win this fight. So whether it's the celebratory and positive event he just did with the vice president about prescription drug price reduction, or it's campaigning. No one loves to campaign like Joe Biden. You will see him campaigning with some joy and some lift in Pennsylvania and around the country, and focusing on the job that's yet to be done, both for the remaining 5 months and then going forward.
We will come back with final schedule.
It's 10 p.m. Central, and it will be in prime time, Lynn.
Lynn, we're setting the final schedule after this. So,
Yes.
next question. Let's go to Blue Coast. Can you name yourself an outlet? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Igor Nemushin. I'm a correspondent from RIA News Agency DC Bureau. So I wonder if there are any talks or what is the part of the agenda that will be dedicated to war in Ukraine and to fighting with Russia during this DNC. And if yes, then when should we expect such kind of conversations? Thank you.
You will see on the program, woven through the entire 4 days, obviously the president will probably cover a lot of that tonight in his speech. I'm sure the vice president will cover it in her speech. We have on Thursday, I believe, or it's Wednesday or Thursday, we have a full foreign policy section, and you will hear a lot about Ukraine. You'll hear a lot about all the things that we are working towards finding solutions. Gaza will be a part of those conversations as well. Mm-hmm.
All right, Brittany Shepard, ABC.
Like very Wendy Williams of you. Thank you very much for doing this, guys. I want to dig in a little bit more to the preview of Biden's speech. I know we're going to hear a lot about the Biden record, but I want to know can you detail a little bit more about how he plans to pass the torch, more fulsomely endorse Harris? Like, what will that part of the speech really look like, sound like?
Well, I won't give away the speech. The president and I, we may look alike, but I can't go that far. What I will tell you is that I think what he's going to say, in part, is that he picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate because she was brilliant, because she had experience as a prosecutor, experience as an attorney general. She was an effective and forceful U.S. senator. So when he picked her to be a real governing partner. And then through the years, she was that governing partner. She cast, like the senator said, so many tie-breaking votes, but she was also a person who held the Senate together in terms of that small minority, small majority, so that they could get historic things done. And so I think he's going to make sure that people understand he picked her because she was great, she was a great partner, and that she's going to be a great next president of the United States.
We'll take one final question.
Lindsay Casey, an affiliate. Just have a logistical question. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thanks for doing that. When will we have the schedule just for broadcasting purposes for the Biden speech? And then also, will we see the vice president in the hall listening to the president's speech and then on stage as well after?
No, I think I was going to say the same thing that that Kevin did, which is that I think we have a slightly more detailed schedule coming out shortly after this, but there are also some elements that'll be released day by day for your planning purposes. I think the team right behind you can fill you in on that after we wrap up here. Thanks.
We are going to get as many excerpts every single day as we can. Goodbye, everybody. We're good. will try our best every day. Yeah, that is the hope. Bye, guys.
introduce Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. 7, 8, 9, 10. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, I think I'm going to be a little louder when I actually say this. Oh, cute. Oh, you guys.
In housing markets, rent, mortgages, which is what she's already announced. She's going to be talking about policy.
I can personally attest.
And in that way, I think that you will give the voters.
Do you want numbers? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That Rita was just talking about, that apparently Donald Trump is absolutely incapable and frankly does have no interest in talking about. Because every time he gets in front of a microphone at home, he can only insult Kamala Harris. He only talks about politics of fear, of division, dark vision of the country that has absolutely no station in reality at all. And I think that contrast, Kamala Harris, with what we're going to see in her speech, she is focused and the foundation is the politics of joy and the politics of solving the problems that Americans see right before them. I think that is going to be what brings her to victory.
I hear he's a cameraman too. He wants to operate the camera. Okay. You want to? Ah, pay attention. Oh. I mean, but the issues was with the contributions. There's a headphone for this camera.
It's mine, but I'm not.
Oh, okay.
like to introduce Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I'm County Executive Lena Hidalgo. I represent the 5 million residents of Harris County, including Houston. Did you guys see my name? Does it say, can you tell? Oh, you can't see it. I saw that there on the TVs. Okay, perfect. So good on TV. Yeah. No, I'm just pretty sure it's amazing.
I can personally attest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Guys, I'm going to have a microphone that I'm going to pass around. Just go right down the line, back and forth. The mayor and the superintendent are pretty tight on their schedule, so any chance to limit it to one question.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to OMC. My name is Jose Tirado. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Emergency Management and Communications for the City of Chicago. I want to share a few quick reminders before I turn it over to the Mayor. As you know by now, OMC is coordinating public safety efforts for the DNC, which kicks off today and runs through Thursday. OMC has activated the city's Emergency Operations Center to monitor citywide activity during this time frame. You've heard me say this before, but it's important for me to say it again. If you see something, say something, and I'll repeat that. If you see something, say something. Please report any suspicious activity to 911. I also encourage you to download the OMC app to stay up to date with information on the convention. We're looking forward to a safe DNC and a safe week for the residents and visitors of Chicago. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Tirado, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Let me just briefly say that I am tremendously and profoundly grateful to the collaborative aspect of this assignment. Our police superintendent has worked diligently, not just with our local police department, but with local departments as well as the Secret Service and federal agencies for the last several months. And that collaborative approach is truly the spirit of who we are in this city. We also could not have done this without the hard work of the everyday Chicagoans, led by my Chief Operations Officer, John Robertson, that has ensured that every single city department and sister agency came together to respond to this moment. The city of Chicago is really good at things like this. It's the reason why we have hosted more national and political conventions than anywhere else in America. There's a reason why Time Out Magazine rated us #1 as it relates to conventions. And so the people on the front line who continue to work, to our OMC, to our firefighters, our EMTs, our Chicago police officers, and again, our streets and sanitation, I can name a bunch of everyday Chicagoans, transit, CTA, bus operators, train operators, who've all come together to respond to this moment. And we are ready. We are ready. With that, we'll turn it over to Police Superintendent, Superintendent Snelling.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd also like to thank Executive Director Jose Tirado. He's been a great partner in this. And good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First, also, allow me to thank my leadership team and what a great job they're doing. As you see to my left, we have Chief standing here, Chief Dwayne DeVries, who has overall command of the DNC. We have Chief Antoinette Ursitti and Chief Yolanda Talley. They've all done a great job. Now standing here, Chief Angel Navales, who's also doing a great job, and Deputy Chief Jill Stevens and Deputy Chief Chris Papajuano. I can't say enough about the work that they're doing, especially with our officers. We know that the DNC is kicking off today, but yesterday we had a protest and a protest group out there, and our officers responded exactly the way that we trained them, to respect First Amendment activity. We were able to talk to the organizers in the beginning. They expressed exactly what they wanted. There was mutual respect there, and because of that, we didn't have any incidents. So just a great job, and I really want to thank the organizers for keeping the protest peaceful, because that's what we're looking for. They were able to have their voices heard. They were able to speak. We gave them that opportunity and a platform to do it, and we protected them while they were doing it. So we had officers out there on foot, bikes, so they were protecting the entire corridor, traffic, direction, making sure that the businesses were taken care of, but most of all, making sure that our citizens were safe while this protest happened. So we're expecting large protests throughout the city for the rest of the week. We're prepared for that. We hope for the exact same outcome for every protest, that everyone gets to express their First Amendment rights. We don't have any incidents. If that occurs, then we've had the most successful Democratic National Convention that we can imagine. So we would prefer not to have clashes. We would prefer not to have to make arrests if we don't have to. And we will avoid those things as long as we're not committing acts of vandalism or violence. We must protect our citizens, and we must protect our city. I drove the route yesterday, all day yesterday, last night, checked on a few things across the city. Our officers are out there. They're out there. They're highly visible. And we have officers not only along the corridors downtown, in and around the venues of the Democratic National Convention, but also in our neighborhoods to continue to protect our people who are living in areas where they're the most vulnerable. So we want to make sure that it's clearly understood that our officers are protecting the entire city, not just one location. So we're going to continue that. We're going to continue to keep our officers looking good, staying professional, because that's what we want, that professional interaction. And I just cannot say enough about how our officers responded yesterday. Just an excellent job, and I'm proud of the Chicago Police Department and the way that the Chicago police officers responded. We could not do this well if those officers didn't step up and work the way that we trained them to work, and they remembered their training, and we'll continue to work that way. With that, let me introduce Secret Service Deputy Special Agent in Charge, Derek Meyer.
Thank you, Superintendent Snelling. Thank you, Mayor Johnson, and thank you, Executive Director Tirado. I could not ask for better partners over the last year than you three. My name is Derek Meyer, and I am the Deputy Special Agent in Charge of the United States Secret Service's Chicago Field Office. The security plan for the 2024 DNC would not be possible without the help of our federal, state, and local partners. I'm proud to finally put that plan into action. The DNC is a national special security event, which means the federal government's full complement of resources are available to provide a safe and secure environment. I want to stress there is no better partner the Secret Service could have than the City of Chicago and the Chicago Police Department. Superintendent Snelling and CPD are world-class partners. The City of Chicago has had great success when it comes to hosting large events. Just this summer, the city hosted NASCAR, Lollapalooza, and the Air and Water Show. That's only to name a few. Like Chicago, the Secret Service also has a proven track record of securing big events. This is the 79th National Special Security event that the Secret Service has hosted. This is the second this year that the Chicago Field Office will host. The Secret Service supports people's First Amendment rights to express themselves freely and lawfully. We're aware of activities planned throughout and during the convention and are working with the Chicago Police Department to make sure they are safe. There will be some impacts when it comes to traffic and parking, but we have done our best to minimize those disruptions through public outreach. I'm looking forward to a safe and secure DNC. Thank you.
We'll now open this up for questions.
We have microphones. Mary, start there. Tom, you can start.
Hi, Alice Gate of the Chicago Tribune. This question's for the mayor. Mayor Johnson, you had a recent interview in which you described the war in Gaza as genocidal. Can you talk about why come out now and use that label? And how do you reconcile that position with your role in also celebrating the Biden-Harris administration this week?
October 7th terrorist attack we condemned in very certain terms. The first major city to do that. The acts of terror that were executed by Hamas, we've condemned them. We've also called for the releasing of hostages and for the end of this war. You can condemn terrorism and call for peace. It's actually very customary within our tradition here in Chicago. Dr. King called for that. People across America are calling for that, for the immediate releasing of hostages, the end of these acts of terror, and the end to this war. And I will continue to stand by that position because it is the moral position.
Good morning. Question for Superintendent Snelling. Sam Charles from the Chicago Tribune.
How you doing, Sam?
Good morning, Superintendent. Obviously, the DNC goes through Thursday. Are days off canceled for all officers between now and Thursday? And is Friday the day expected where things kind of get back to normal?
That's correct. We just want to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of manpower out there to deal with this. Obviously, though, we know that can be a strain on officers and their families. This is why every district commander and every member of leadership has a wellness plan around officers, just to make sure that officers are hydrated, they're getting breaks, they get an opportunity to rest, that they're nourished. We know, again, that when we look at cognition, we want our officers to be well when they're responding out there. And yesterday was an example of that. When our officers are well rested, when they know that they're being taken care of, they take care of others. So, yes.
Superintendent Julie Bosman with the New York Times. Were there any arrests related to protests last night? And do you intend to let the Poor People's Army march inside the security perimeter today?
So what I'll tell you about the arrest, there was an arrest of a 23-year-old woman. She was charged with defacement of property and resisting and obstructing a police officer. She was not inside of that march. It was separate from that march. So I'm not going to associate that one individual with the peaceful protest that was put together by that group. So there was one arrest, but it was not inside of that footprint. Oh, I'm sorry, and the second part of it, no one will be allowed within the secure perimeter of the DNC, all right? This is a matter of national security. We want to make sure that everyone is safe. We saw what happened in Pennsylvania. We're going to make sure that we secure everything so that doesn't happen here. We have a great partnership with the Secret Service. We're in constant communication with them. Our partner, Derek Meyer, just a phenomenal partner. Can't say enough about that, and we're communicating, and we're going to make sure that we protect that area.
Superintendent Snelling, Martin Costi, NPR. Yesterday, the spokesman for the coalition to march on the DNC said that regarding the length of the route, that they've been trying to get longer, that basically the size of the crowd dictates where people go, Chicago rules, implying that people might start departing the official route. What's your philosophy if people start going to side streets, that kind of thing?
Listen, the length of the route doesn't matter. We've seen early on with some of the protests that started last year, upwards of 10 to 15,000 people. And it wasn't about the length of the route. It was about the control efforts put in place. Number one, the organizers. The organizers in some of these protests have done a very good job policing themselves and policing each other. They've worked with us in partnership. We've talked to them because if we know what those routes are going to be and the direction they're moving, then we can do our best to ensure the safety of everyone within that group. If you watch us and if you watch the way that we've been training with our bikes, we have a way of keeping everybody in line and keeping everybody on the route. So this won't be a log jam. We're going to make sure that if anything happens that we have to call an audible on to make sure that everyone is safe, we will do that. But just keep in mind, there's traffic throughout our city. There are intersections that we have to make sure that everyone gets through safely so that there are no car accidents or someone who decides to drive into a crowd. So we're going to make sure that we protect everybody.
Good morning, Superintendent. Michelle Gallardo with ABC 7. My question for you is, and you already alluded to this, obviously yesterday you had your first chance to see how the training of officers would play out with, the first of the many protests that is going to happen this week. But of course, today's the big day. It's going to be significantly more people, tens of thousands potentially, versus hundreds. So is there any, difference in what we saw yesterday to what we will see today? Yesterday we saw the bike patrols. Certainly there was no riot gear in sight. I'm sure that was on purpose. But when you're dealing with potentially tens of thousands of people, does that change? Do the officers today, will we see them in protective gear? Are there any differences, majorly in what we will see compared to yesterday?
No. What you're going to see, if we see more people, you will just see a fuller effect of what you saw yesterday. As far as riot gear, we don't need officers out there in riot gear if people are protesting peacefully. What has been questioned is can the Chicago Police Department respond to First Amendment activity without arresting people or without it turning violent? Yes, we can. And there's no reason to have someone out in riot gear if no one's rioting. If people are out there having their voices heard, expressing their First Amendment rights, which we saw yesterday, there is absolutely no reason to be confrontational. We actually want people to speak out, say what they need to say, and it's not about agreeing with what anyone has to say, it's about respecting it. And we're going to respect people's constitutional rights, and we're going to make sure that we're not escalating anything. We want to make sure that this goes off safely and everybody gets the opportunity to have their voices heard.
Hi, Mayor. Heather Sharon, WTTW. Can you give us a preview of what you're going to tell the convention tonight, and what do you hope people, after they leave Thursday, Friday, will tell their friends about Chicago?
I would hope, thank you for that question, I would hope that people walk away from Chicago in love with the city as much as I'm in love with this city and as much as the people are in love with this city. And there are a lot of great reasons to be in love with this city. 20% of the world's fresh water is in our front yard, through the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence. Electricity came to life here in the World Fair. The city that launched, the consciousness of America through the writings of Ida B. Wells. I want them to understand that profound history, from electricity to the Model T to Carnegie to quantum computing. That all rhymed, didn't it? Maybe I should say that tonight, Heather. But I want them to know that, Chicago is a love story. A black Haitian immigrant, a Potawatomi woman at the banks of the river set up a trade post so that the entire world could come together and exchange ideas and hopes and aspirations. And that's what I want people to walk away with, and that's essentially what I'll articulate tonight.
Good morning. My question is for Superintendent Snelling, Carmen Maras with Univision. How many federal agencies and from other states are here assisting, and how are the resources being distributed inside and outside of the perimeter?
Well, I wish I could give you a number, but what I can tell you is I swore in a large number of mutual aid officers who came in from all around the state and Milwaukee. We also have the state police here. We have the Cook County Police who are helping out with that. The Capitol Police are here. We have agencies from across the country here. Most of our mutual aid officers are from right within Illinois, and with Milwaukee being the outlier. They are in charge of a lot of the infrastructure. So a lot of the locations where we know need to be secured, this is where we have the mutual aid partners distributed. This frees up our officers to be out in the field because of the extensive training that those officers have. We would rather have our officers patrolling and responding to these incidents rather than having someone from outside of our agency do those things.
Chief Snelling, good morning. My name is Tarso with Bloomberg News. I have a question for you. Are you concerned about the protest that will happen outside the Israeli consulate on Tuesday? Their slogan is "Make it great like '68."
Well, listen, I'm concerned about a lot of things. And when we become concerned about things, the more important thing is what can we influence, right? So what is our response going to be to any situation that happens? Listen, it's this simple. The Chicago Police Department is here to protect everyone in this city. We will protect people's rights, again, their First Amendment rights, their rights of expression. What we will not tolerate is intimidation. We will not tolerate violence. And we want every single person in this city to feel safe. And we will protect anyone from harm or danger. So anything that comes up where and I've said it a million times, where we think there's a potential for violence, vandalism, we will put an end to that as soon as it starts.
Superintendent. We understand that some bricks were found in and around Union Park by officers in recent days. Have any more bricks been found?
Not to my knowledge, but we keep an eye out for those things. Because if we can stop that before it starts. Because look, when you have a large group of people who want to express their First Amendment rights, the larger number of that group are just simply here to do that. Sometimes you get lone wolf people, or you get a group that will infiltrate that group, and under that umbrella, they will try to commit acts of violence or try to escalate a situation. We're out there to stop that before it starts. So we keep an eye out for those types of things. So we're paying attention to that. And any intel that we get around those situations, we're proactive to stop it.
Good morning, Soup. Mac Leader, Mill Block, Chicago. Yesterday, about 200 protesters rallied outside of Navy Pier, and at one point, protesters had actually disrupted the stage. I got up there and spoke. What allowed that to happen, and how do you ensure no similar disruptions happen throughout the week?
So what I will tell you is they were given the opportunity to do that by the group inside. So they were kind enough to allow these people the opportunity to speak. So that was an agreement. So any other, so that wasn't a security breach. So when we know that there's a possibility of a security breach, we'll make sure, because we have officers there to stop that from happening. But that was an agreement yesterday.
That's the last question.
Hey, Sean Mulcahy, Chicago Reader. I just wanted to follow up on the Poor People's Army. So my understanding was that the city was required to grant a permit to march right in front of, like on Madison Street. Could you just confirm like how that squares with not being able to get inside the security perimeter?
We're here. What I can tell you is this, because I don't have all of the information on that right now, so I don't want to give you any bad information. Here's what I will tell you. We know that we have people who will pop up and start to protest. Listen, we will handle that the same way that we handle everything else. We don't want to escalate a situation. And if all they want to do is have their voices heard and they're not disrupting anything, people will have the opportunity to express their First Amendment rights. So anything that happens like that, the spontaneous, will be there to handle it and keep it as peaceful as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.